The night was quiet. The sky was dark and the wind moved slowly through the tall trees. John walked alone on the forest path. He often came here after work to clear his mind. But tonight felt different. There was a strange smell in the air, like burning metal mixed with wet earth. He stopped, listening carefully. The silence of the night was broken by a faint humming sound, low and unnatural. It was not the sound of an animal, nor the sound of a car. It was something else, something alien. John felt his heartbeat rise. He followed the sound, each step heavy on the dirt. As he moved deeper into the forest, he saw a glow between the trees. At first he thought it was a campfire, but the light was too cold, too sharp, blue and silver instead of warm orange. When he pushed aside the last branches, his eyes widened. In the middle of the clearing lay a small craft, broken and smoking. The ground around it was burned black. John froze, his breath caught in his chest. He had seen spaceships in movies, but now he was staring at one in real life. It was small, not larger than a van. Its surface cracked and glowing faintly. Strange symbols glowed on its side, symbols that seemed to move as if alive. The humming grew louder, then softer, like the craft was breathing. Then he heard it, a weak cry, high-pitched, almost like the sound of a child. John turned, and there she was, sitting on the ground near the broken craft. A tiny girl, no older than 7, but her eyes shone like silver stars. Her skin had a faint glow. Her hair floated around her head as if it were moving in water. She looked fragile, almost too delicate to belong to this world. For a long moment, John could not move. The girl tilted her head and stared at him. Then she smiled. It was not the smile of a normal child. It was both innocent and strange. When she spoke, her voice echoed, as if two voices spoke at the same time, one soft, one alien. "Are you human?" she asked, her lips barely moving. John's throat felt dry, but he nodded. The girl's smile grew wider, and for some reason it made his chest tighten with fear. He stepped closer slowly, his hands shaking. She did not move. She only watched him, her silver eyes reflecting the blue glow of the wreck. He saw that she was shivering, her small arms hugging herself tightly. Without thinking, John pulled off his jacket and placed it around her shoulders. She touched the fabric curiously, running her fingers over it. Then she laughed, a strange laugh that was both childlike and too sharp. It made the hair on his neck stand up. But he forced a weak smile. "You're cold," he said softly. "Come with me. I'll get you something warm." The girl tilted her head again, and for a moment John thought she did not understand. But then she nodded slowly, her movements stiff and unnatural. He gently helped her stand. She was so light it felt like lifting air. As they walked back through the trees, the humming of the craft faded behind them. John could not stop glancing at her glowing skin. It lit the dark path like a lantern. When they reached his small cabin near the forest edge, John guided her inside. The warm light of the lamp made her features look even stranger. She sat on the old wooden chair, her silver eyes moving over every detail of the room. John hurried to the kitchen, filled a glass with milk and placed it in front of her. "It's just milk," he said nervously. "Try it." The girl lifted the glass with small, thin hands. She sniffed it first, her nose wrinkling like a curious animal. Then she drank, her lips touching the edge of the glass slowly. Her eyes widened and suddenly she laughed again. Louder this time. The sound was sharp, echoing in the room. A laugh that did not belong to a child. John's hand froze on the table, the glass almost slipping from his grip. The girl looked at him, milk shining on her lips, her silver eyes glowing brighter. Then, without warning, she placed the glass down, leaned closer and whispered, "You are kind, human. That is why I came." John's breath caught in his throat. He opened his mouth to ask a question, but the girl's smile grew wider. Her small hands touched the edge of his shirt, her eyes never leaving his face. In that moment, John felt something strange, like the room had shifted. The air grew heavy. The light dimmed and her laugh echoed once more. John's mind screamed at him to run, but his body could not move. The girl's laughter, the glow of her eyes, the soft whisper of her alien voice, all of it wrapped around him like invisible chains. And for the first time in his life, John felt that humanity itself was no longer safe. The night stretched on, shadows crawling across the walls of John's cabin. The small alien girl sat quietly on the chair, her silver eyes fixed on him. She had finished the milk, but her strange laughter still echoed in his mind. John tried to steady his breathing, his hands trembling as he wiped the glass. Everything inside him screamed that this was wrong, that he should leave. But something stronger held him in place. The girl tilted her head, her glowing hair moving like strands of light. "You gave me kindness," she said, her voice soft but layered with strange tones. "It is rare among your kind." John blinked, unsure if he heard her correctly. "My kind?" he asked carefully. She nodded, her small face calm but her silver eyes burned like distant stars. John sat across from her, trying to keep his voice steady. "Where are you from? Why are you here?" he asked. For a moment, the girl said nothing. She raised her hand and touched the air in front of her. Blue sparks appeared at her fingertips, dancing like fireflies. A shape formed in the air, swirling stars, a cluster of worlds, planets turning in silence. John's mouth opened in awe. It was like watching a piece of the universe right inside his cabin. "I am from far beyond," she whispered, her two-toned voice filling the room. "Farther than your kind can measure." The sparks flickered, and the image vanished. Her hand dropped back onto her lap, as if the act had drained her. John leaned closer, his fear mixing with curiosity. You crashed? Was that your ship?" The girl's smile returned, faint and unsettling. "Yes," she said, "but not by accident." John felt a chill spread down his spine. "Not an accident," he repeated. Her laughter slipped out again, sharp and strange. "No accident," she said. "I came to find you." The words hit him harder than any blow. He pointed at himself, confused. "Me? Why me?" The girl only stared, her silver eyes unreadable. The cabin lights flickered suddenly, the old bulb buzzing overhead. John looked around nervously, but the girl did not move. Instead, she placed her tiny hands flat on the wooden table. The wood vibrated, faintly at first, then stronger. Objects rattled. The glass, the lamp, the chair legs. John pulled back, his heart pounding. The girl's lips curved into another strange smile. "Do you see?" she whispered. "I am not like you." John swallowed hard, his throat dry. "You're dangerous," he muttered. The girl leaned forward, her small frame casting a shadow larger than it should. "Dangerous? Or different?" she asked softly. Her voice carried something deeper now, a weight that pressed into John's chest. He struggled to answer, his words caught between fear and fascination. Finally, he whispered, "Both." The girl's silver eyes glowed brighter, and for the first time John noticed something else. Behind the innocence of her childlike face, there was an oldness, a knowledge that no child could ever hold. She seemed ancient, timeless, and yet she was sitting in his cabin, wrapped in his jacket, sipping milk like a fragile child. John pressed his palms against the table, forcing himself to stay calm. "You said you came to find me," he whispered. "Why?" The girl's laughter returned, softer this time but no less chilling. "Because," she said, "you are different from the others of your kind." John frowned, shaking his head. "I'm just ordinary," he said. "There's nothing special about me." Her silver eyes blinked slowly, like a predator studying prey. "That is what makes you perfect," she replied. John felt his stomach twist. He tried to stand, but his legs felt heavy. The girl tilted her head again, her glowing hair floating around her like threads of light. "You will help me," she said, her voice no longer asking but declaring. John shook his head quickly. "No, I can't. I don't even know what you are." Her smile widened at his fear. "Then you will learn," she whispered. The air grew colder, his breath fogging in the dim light. He wanted to run, but his body refused. The girl's presence was like gravity, pulling him closer even as his mind screamed to resist. She lifted one finger and pointed at him. Her silver eyes shone so brightly they hurt to look at. "Your life is no longer yours," she said, her voice echoing with strange power. "You gave me milk and kindness, and now you belong to me." John's chest rose and fell quickly, panic gripping him. But still, a part of him was drawn to her. Fascinated by her alien beauty, the girl leaned back in the chair as if satisfied. She picked up the empty glass of milk again, holding it in her small hands. Then she laughed once more, the sound bouncing off the cabin walls like 1,000 voices. John covered his ears, but the sound was not just outside, it was inside his head too. The girl's laughter was everywhere, surrounding him, binding him. When it finally stopped, silence returned, heavy and suffocating. The girl placed the glass back down and whispered in her strange double voice, "This is only the beginning, human." John sat frozen, unable to reply. The shadows of the cabin seemed to grow darker, and in that darkness, John knew that whatever she was, she had chosen him, and there was no escape. The night dragged on and John could not sleep. He sat on the edge of his bed staring at the closed door of the living room where the alien girl rested. His heart still raced from her words. "Now you belong to me." He wanted to believe it was only a dream, but the glow under the door told him it was real. The girl was no ordinary being, and now she was inside his home. The lamp flickered once more. Though the storm outside had ended hours ago, John rubbed his face, trying to think, trying to plan. But no plan made sense. How could he explain this to anyone? How could he even explain it to himself? He whispered under his breath, "Why me?" The question echoed in his mind without an answer. At last, he stood and walked slowly into the living room. The girl was awake, sitting on the chair exactly as before. Her silver eyes met his instantly, as if she had been waiting. The jacket he had given her slipped down her small shoulders, but she did not seem cold. She seemed untouched by human weakness. "You did not sleep," she said softly, her double voice floating through the room. John swallowed and shook his head. "No, I couldn't," he admitted. The girl tilted her head, her glowing hair shifting like water. "Humans fear what they cannot control," she said, almost like she was explaining a lesson. "But fear is only the first step." John frowned, confused. "The first step to what?" he asked. The girl smiled again, that strange, sharp smile that made his skin crawl. "To truth," she whispered. Her silver eyes narrowed, and for the first time John felt like she was looking inside him. Not at his body, not at his face, but inside his mind. He clenched his fists, fighting the strange pressure in his chest. "What do you want from me?" he asked, his voice low. The girl's eyes glowed brighter, filling the room with pale light. "What I want is already happening," she said. "You gave me shelter, you gave me milk, you gave me trust." Her words echoed strangely, as though the walls themselves repeated them. John took a step back, shaking his head. "I didn't trust you," he said. I didn't want to leave you out there." The girl's laughter rang out, soft but sharp. "And that is why you were chosen," she whispered. Suddenly the room grew colder, the air shimmered, and John saw small objects tremble. The glass, the lamp, even the chair legs. The girl raised her small hands, and in the air above her an image appeared. A glowing sphere of light spinning slowly, surrounded by lines and shapes. John stared at it, his mouth dry. "What is that?" he whispered. The girl's voice deepened, two tones blending into one. "A memory," she said. "My people carry memories not inside our minds, but inside light." The glowing sphere shifted, showing worlds far beyond Earth. Giant structures floating in space, ships larger than mountains, and then shadows, dark, endless. Like swarms of predators, John's chest tightened as the images flickered. The girl's small face remained calm, but her eyes burned with intensity. "My kind is hunted," she said. by forces that hunger for us, by creatures that tear worlds apart. Her voice shook slightly for the first time. And that is why I came here, to hide, to choose, to connect. John stared at her, still trembling. You mean, you're running? He asked. The girl nodded slowly. Yes, but not only running, she whispered. I am searching for someone who can help. Her silver eyes locked on him, unblinking. And that someone is you? John shook his head, quickly, panic rising again. No, you don't understand. I'm just a man. I work, I eat, I sleep. I'm not a hero. The girl tilted her head, her strange smile returning. Heroes are not chosen because they are strong, she said. They are chosen because they are kind. John's throat tightened, his legs weak. The weight of her words pressed on him like iron. The glowing sphere above her flickered. Suddenly the images turned darker. John saw himself standing in fire, holding something glowing in his hands. He saw cities collapsing, strange creatures, with black wings tearing through buildings. And then he saw the girl, older, taller, her silver eyes brighter than ever. She stood beside him, her voice echoing through the vision. You will fight with me, or you will die with them. The vision snapped away. The room falling silent, John stumbled back, gasping for air. What was that? He shouted. The girl lowered her hands, her face calm. A path, she said simply. One that has already begun. John shook his head, clutching the table for support. No, I didn't ask for this. The girl's silver eyes softened for the first time. No one asks, she whispered. But choice is an illusion. Her glowing hair floated again, surrounding her like a halo, and she leaned forward, her small voice sharp as a blade. You are mine now, human, and together we will change everything. The lamp flickered violently, then went out. Darkness swallowed the cabin, leaving only the faint silver glow of her eyes. And in that glow, John saw no child. He saw something ancient, dangerous and unstoppable. And he finally understood. This was not a guest in his home. This was the beginning of the end of his old life. The morning sun rose weakly, its light unable to chase away the heavy shadows that clung to John's cabin. He had not slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the girl's silver gaze and the visions of burning cities. His hands shook as he made coffee, but even the bitter taste could not calm his nerves. The girl sat at the table, silent still, watching him without blinking. She did not eat. She did not drink. She only waited. John felt the weight of her presence pressing into his mind. Every sound seemed louder, every movement slower, as if the world itself was bending around her. When he finally spoke, his voice cracked. Someone will come, he whispered. They must have seen the crash. The girl tilted her head, her glowing hair drifting softly. Yes, she said calmly. They will come. Her tone carried no fear, only certainty. John set the cup down, trying to hide the trembling in his hands. Then we should leave, we should hide, he muttered. The girl's silver eyes flashed. Hide? No, we do not hide, she said firmly, her voice echoing in two tones. John swallowed hard, unease twisting in his stomach. Then what do we do? He asked slowly. The girl's smile returned, sharp and unsettling. We wait, she whispered, because they are not here for me. John's brow furrowed, confusion flickering in his tired eyes. What do you mean? He asked. The girl leaned forward, her tiny hands resting on the table. They are here for you, she said, her voice cold. John's chest tightened, his breath catching. For me? That's impossible, he whispered. The girl's laughter slipped out again, chilling and wrong. Nothing is impossible, she said. Not anymore. Outside, the sound of tires crunching on gravel broke the silence. John froze. His blood turning cold, he peered through the window, his heart pounding. Two black vehicles rolled up the dirt path, their windows tinted, their engines low and steady. The doors opened, and men in dark suits stepped out, tall and rigid, their faces hidden. Behind dark glasses, they moved with military precision, Spreading out silently across the yard, John's stomach twisted. He had seen men like this only in movies, but now they were real. And they were here. The girl stood, her small frame glowing faintly in the dim light. "They smell of fear," she said softly, "but also of violence." John turned to her, his voice sharp with panic. "You can't let them see you. They'll take you away. They'll take me away." But the girl only tilted her head, her silver eyes narrowing. "No, they will take nothing," she whispered. A knock rattled the door, 3 heavy strikes that shook the cabin walls. "Open up. This is government business," a voice barked, firm and commanding. John's hands shook as he reached for the doorknob, but the girl's small hand caught his wrist. Her touch was cold, stronger than it should have been. "Do not obey them," she said sharply. Her voice vibrating in his skull. John stared at her, his chest rising and falling quickly. "What choice do I have?" he whispered. Her silver eyes gleamed, and for the first time, he saw something like anger. "You always have choice," she said, "but today your choice will change everything." The knock came again, harder this time. "John Miller, we know you are inside. Open the door now," the voice commanded. John's blood ran cold. They knew his name. He backed away. From the door, his legs weak. "How do they know me?" he muttered under his breath. The girl's laughter filled the room like glass breaking. "They know you because you were chosen long before I came," she said. John's eyes widened, fear gripping him tighter. "What are you talking about?" he demanded. But the girl only smiled, her lips curling in that same sharp way. The door burst open before he could react. Men in black suits stormed inside, their boots heavy, their faces blank. One of them raised a device, not a gun, but something stranger, glowing faint blue. The girl stepped forward, her silver glow rising. The air grew heavy, the light dimmed. "Stay back," one of the men ordered, pointing the device at her. But she only laughed, her small voice cutting through the room. "You cannot control me," she whispered. The device crackled with energy, releasing a beam of blue light. It struck the girl directly, wrapping around her like chains of lightning. John shouted, reaching forward instinctively. But instead of falling, the girl's silver eyes flared brighter. The chains of energy shattered like glass, bursting into sparks that scorched the walls. The men staggered back, shock flashing across their hidden faces. The girl's laughter echoed louder, filling the cabin until John covered his ears. "You bring toys to bind me," she said, her voice booming in 2 tones. "But I am not the one you hunt." The agents raised their weapons again, but before they could fire, the girl lifted one small hand. The air twisted violently, the wooden floor groaning under invisible weight. In a sudden wave, the men were thrown back against the walls, pinned as if by unseen hands. John stared, frozen, his breath shallow. The girl turned her silver eyes on him, her voice cold and sharp. "Do you see now, human?" she asked. "They are not here for me. They are here because of you." John stumbled back, shaking his head. "No, that's not possible. I don't even know what's happening." The girl stepped closer, her silver glow spreading through the cabin. Her smile widened, beautiful and terrifying. "Then learn quickly," she whispered, "because this is only the beginning." The men groaned, their weapons useless against the crushing force that held them. The cabin lights exploded, glass raining down. And in that chaos, John realized the truth. The girl was not hiding behind him. She was leading him. And whatever these men wanted, they were already too late. The night was heavy with silence, broken only by John's uneven breathing. The cabin was destroyed. Broken glass and splintered wood scattered across the floor. The men in black were gone, their bodies dragged outside by the girl's invisible power. John stood in the center of the room, his hands shaking, his heart beating too fast. He looked at the small alien girl, glowing faintly in the dim light, and he whispered, "What are you turning me into?" The girl tilted her head, her silver eyes calm. "I am not turning you into anything," she said, her double voice echoing. "You are already chosen, you are already marked." Her words pressed into his mind like weights, and John stumbled back, shaking his head. "I don't want this. I didn't ask for this," he said, his voice breaking. The girl's smile returned, sharp and strange. "No one asks," she whispered. "But choice will still come." John leaned against the wall, his chest rising and falling quickly. "You're dangerous," he muttered. "You've brought them here, you've destroyed my life." The girl's silver eyes flashed brighter, and for the first time her smile faded. "You are wrong," she said sharply. "I did not bring them. They were already searching for you." Her glowing hair floated around her head like silver fire. "They knew you before I ever came human. I only revealed the truth." John stared at her, stunned. "They knew me," he whispered. "But I'm nobody." The girl stepped closer, her small feet silent on the broken floor. "You are not nobody," she said, her voice low. "You are a key." John's throat tightened, his body trembling. "A key to what?" he asked. The girl leaned forward, her silver eyes burning into his. "A war," she whispered. The words sank into his bones, heavy and cold. John shook his head violently. No, I can't fight. I'm not a soldier. I can barely survive my own life." But the girl raised her small hand, and in the air appeared another vision. A battlefield stretched across the stars. Ships burning, cities falling, shadows spreading like fire. And in the middle of it all stood John, holding a strange, glowing object, a weapon or a key, he could not tell. Beside him was the girl, no longer small but tall and radiant, her silver, eyes blazing like suns. The vision vanished, leaving only silence. John gasped for air, his legs weak. "That's not me," he whispered. "That can't be me." The girl's voice softened, though it still echoed with alien weight. "It is you," she said. "It always was. That is why I found you. That is why you were chosen." John turned away, gripping his head with his hands. "No, I have a life here. I just wanted peace. I just wanted to be left alone." The girl's laughter filled the room, soft and sharp. "Peace is a dream, human, not a truth," she said. "You can stay here, you can run, you can hide, but the war will come to you, and when it does, you will choose." John spun around, anger breaking through his fear. "Choose what?" he demanded. The girl's silver glow spread brighter, casting long shadows on the walls. "To protect me," she whispered, "or to betray me." Her words cut through the air like a blade. John's chest tightened, his breath short. "What happens if I betray you?" he asked. The girl's smile returned, wide and haunting. "Then you will live as a slave," she said softly. "And humanity will burn." The silence that followed was unbearable. John sank into the broken chair, burying his face in his hands. He thought of his life, his job, his quiet nights, all the simple things he had once wanted. Now they seemed so far away, shattered by the presence of this alien child. But as he looked up again, his eyes met hers, and he saw not only danger, but something else. A flicker of need, a strange kind of trust hidden inside her cold silver gaze. She whispered again, her voice almost gentle now. "You will not betray me, I already know." John shook his head. Unsure if it was defiance or surrender, his voice cracked when he spoke. "Why me? Why not someone stronger, someone smarter?" The girl's glowing hair drifted in the air, her smile small but certain. "Because strength without kindness is empty," she said, "and kindness without strength dies quickly." Her words dug into him, deeper than he wanted to admit. John pressed his palms to his knees, his body trembling. He felt the weight of the decision pressing on him, heavy like stone. If he chose her, he would abandon his old life. If he refused, humanity itself might pay the price. The cabin felt too small, too dark, too heavy for such a choice, and yet the choice was his. The girl stepped closer, placing her small, glowing hand on his chest. Her touch was cold, but steady. "You are afraid," she said, "but fear is the path that leads forward." John looked at her, his lips dry, his voice shaking. "And if I choose wrong?" he asked. Her silver eyes narrowed, her sharp smile returning. "Then you will not live long enough to regret it." she whispered. The silence that followed felt endless. John closed his eyes, his breath uneven, and in that silence he realized something terrifying. The choice was not between life and death. The choice was between humanity and something far beyond it. And no matter what he chose, his life would never be his again. The night air outside the cabin was heavy, filled with the smell of smoke and damp earth. John stood near the broken doorway, staring into the darkness beyond the trees. His chest rose and fell with uneven breaths, his mind torn between fear and disbelief. Behind him, the small alien girl stood glowing faintly, her silver eyes fixed on him like moons. "You cannot run," she whispered, her double voice echoing. "The world will not let you." John's fists tightened at his sides. His entire body trembled with exhaustion, but his thoughts burned. He wanted to scream, to tell her she was wrong, to tell her she had destroyed his life, but deep down he already knew the truth. Ever since he found her in the forest, his life had not belonged to him. The silence outside broke, a low rumble spreading across the night. John turned his head sharply, his eyes widening. In the distance, lights flickered between the trees, moving closer. Not flashlights, not car headlights, but something brighter, more unnatural. The girl stepped forward, her silver hair lifting around her like smoke. "They are coming," she said calmly, "but not for me. Not this time." John's heart pounded harder. He grabbed the edge of the doorframe, his voice low and broken. "You keep saying that they're after me, but I don't understand." The girl's sharp smile returned, cold and certain. "You do not need to understand," she said. "You only need to choose." The ground shook suddenly, dirt rattling loose from the cabin roof. A sound like thunder rolled through the forest, followed by the crack of splitting wood. John staggered back as a massive shadow emerged. Between the trees it moved slowly, its form shifting like black smoke wrapped around metal. Two glowing red eyes burned through the darkness, unblinking, unhuman. John's blood turned cold, his body frozen. The girl's silver glow brightened, pushing against the shadow. Her double voice cut through the cabin like a blade. "They have found you sooner than I expected," she said. John shook his head violently, his voice trembling. No, that thing is here for you, it has to be." But the girl only laughed, sharp and cruel. "You still do not see, human. They know what you are, even if you do not." The shadow moved closer, the earth cracking beneath it. Strange whispers filled the air, voices that did not belong to any living creature. John clutched his head, his ears ringing, his vision spinning. The girl raised her, small hands, silver light shooting into the night. The shadow reeled back but did not fall, its red eyes burning brighter. "You cannot fight them alone," she said, turning her gaze to him. "You must choose now." John gasped for air, his chest tight, his heart beating like a drum. "I can't," he whispered. "I'm not ready." The girl's silver eyes narrowed, her glow pulsing like fire. "Ready or not, the world does not wait," she said. Her small hand reached out toward him, glowing with strange power. "Take my hand, and you will belong to me, and I will protect you." John stumbled back, his voice breaking. "And if I don't?" he asked. Her sharp smile widened, her voice colder than ice. "Then you will die, and your kind will follow." The shadow roared, the sound shaking the trees and splitting the earth. Red light poured across the ground, burning the grass. The cabin groaned under the force. Wood, snapping and glass shattering, John's knees buckled, his fear consuming him. The girl's hand hovered before him, glowing like a blade of silver fire. Her double voice grew louder, echoing in his mind and chest. "Choose, human, choose